Hi everybody, back again, and this time it is a video to show you the books I have bought recently, which is a lot, I think I've outdone myself for the amount of new books that I've bought myself in one go. I know I've said that before, but this time I have, especially because I've got two sets of a series of books which are quite chunky. So yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, I've got to make room somehow in my study for all of these, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. But yeah, might as well crack on with it and show you the books that I have recently bought. So I'll start with the book series first, because they're the ones that are closest to me on my sofa. Literally, they cover. I am sat over to one end of my sofa, which sits three people. The books cover the rest of the sofa. There's that many of them. So yeah, let's crack on. So first of all, the first book series I've got. Oh no, I've just bent the cover. Oh, that's really annoying. Oh well, can't do anything about that now. The first set is the trilogy, the Century Trilogy by Ken Follett. I mentioned that I wanted to read the other big series of books by Ken Follett, which I haven't gotten around to, and this is the Century Trilogy. So it starts off with Fall of Giants, then it's The Winter of the World, and then it ends with Edge of Eternity. And it covers 5 families through a century, so starting in 1911 and ending in 2011, and covers all different events and such that have happened in the past century through the eyes of these 5 families. I don't know if they are like all the families are around the world or if they are in one particular country. I gather he's done around the world, but I don't know. Well, I guess I will find out. But yes, I have finally got hold of the Century Collection, and they're big chunky books, but I finally got hold of the Century Collection by Ken Follett. So there we go. So that's number 1. I'm going to have to put these on the floor as I go. There we go. And try not to spend any more covers. Can't believe I just did that. I've kept them, they've been all nice and lovely, and then right at the last minute I've gone and accidentally bent a cover. Oh well. And the other collection is Elizabeth Jane Howard's Casualettes collection. So this is over 5 books called The Light Years, Marking Time, Confusion, Casting Off and All Change. Now, when it comes to the Casualettes, I have got the BBC TV drama, which just covers the first book, and their fabulous BBC Radio 4 drama, which covers all 5 novels. And I really like the Casualettes. I think it's a really interesting story, but I've never read them. And especially the radio play, it has a narrator, and so you kind of get Elizabeth's words and such through the narration, and I really find it very beautiful, quite poetic and such. So I very much want to read the Casualettes collection. I now have them, so there we go. So that's the other set, as it were, and they are on the floor. Okay, so now I'm going to move into the larger size books. So I'm just going to move these down my sofa. Okay, so the first one, which I am going to adore reading, I know that, is Fanny Moyle's The King's Painter, The Life and Times of Hans Holbein. Hans Holbein is one of my favourite painters in history, and he was a massive political player with his paintings. He had a lot to say. He kind of like today he would be like the number 1 Instagram influencer. He what he painted could really affect things, and he painted the most beautiful painting, and every few pages are just absolutely full of them. You can see all, if I just very quickly flick through in the very tiny bit that you're seeing, there's page after page after page of beautiful prints of his paintings, and the cover is actually raised, so it feels like a canvas. It's oh my god, and when I saw this I fell in love. So I was like, I have to buy it. I have to buy it. And Franny Moyle, I've seen her at the Literature Festival a few times, and I like her writing, so I had to buy it. Okay, the next one I bought because it just made me, I went, why the hell not? And that is When the Curtain Falls by Carrie Hope Fletcher. Now, Carrie Hope Fletcher is a West End actress who I follow on Instagram and YouTube. I fell into her YouTube channel, I think probably about 3 years ago now, and because she did a video about what it's like being a West End actress during the Christmas New Year period. And I just loved her. I loved her personality. I loved how warm and she was, and the generosity of showing us these things. And she does so many videos where she's just basically, this is what my life is like as an actress, and going on tour and all this lot. And she talks a lot about books, and she's got a series of books, and she has said herself that this is her kind of favorite one that lives most in her heart, because it's all about theatre. And the blurb says, in 1952, two young lovers, Fawn Burrows and Walter Brown, meet backstage in a beautiful West End theatre during a production of When the Curtain Falls. Between clandestine meetings and stolen moments, they must hide their love from the one person who will stop at nothing to keep Fawn for herself. But life in the theatre doesn't always follow the script, and tragedy and heartache are waiting in the wings for all the players. Almost 70 years later, a new production arrives at the theatre, bringing with it Oscar Bright and Olive Green and their budding romance. But no sooner has the new cast settled into their dressing rooms than strange things begin to happen. Ghosts of production past haunts the theatre, or so the story goes. Can Oscar and Olive get the truth out of the matter before tragedy strikes once more? So she writes kind of what you could describe as chick lit. But I love the theatre, and the way that she speaks about writing this book, and how she loves theatres and everything. It's her life, and now she's written a book about theatres. It just appealed to me, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to give Carrie Hope Fletcher her writing a go. So I got When the Curtain Falls. Okay, the next one is a debut novel, which I just kind of went, what the heck, I'm going to give it a go. And that's Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. This is a debut novel, and it is, I believe it's set in London. It says, magic and love, love and magic, they destroy everything in the end. And there's a noose with a needle and thread in the middle of it. I just saw that, I was like, oh, okay. And the blurb says, Anna's aunt has always warned her of the dangers of magic. It twists, it knots, its deadly consequences. Now Anna counts down the days to the ceremony that will bind her magic forever, until she meets Effie and Attis. They open her eyes to a London that she never knew existed. A shop that sells memories, a secret library where the librarian feeds off words, a club where revellers lose themselves in a haze of spells. But as she is swept deeper into the world, Anna begins to wonder if her aunt was right all along. Is her magic a gift, or is it a curse? And I don't know, there was just something about magic, London, and I love sewing. And it just I kind of went, oh, what the hell, let's give it a go. It's a debut novel, so I don't know Carrie Thomas's writing, obviously. So I'm just going to see what I think of it. So there we go. Now, this next one is a fiction book that I'm very, very intrigued by. Very. And that is Dangerous Women by Hope Adams. I've never read Hope's writing before, but this is a fictional story which is based off real life events. So it says, London, 1841. The Rajab, I hope I'm saying that right, please let me know if I'm saying it wrong, sails from Australia. On board are 180 women convicted of petty crimes. Daughters, sisters, mothers. They'll never see home or their family again. Despised and damned, they only have one another. As the ship sails further from land, the women spend their days working on a patchwork quilt of rare beauty. until, in the middle of the unforgiving sea, a young mother is murdered. As the desperate hunt for the killer begins, everyone on board is a suspect. Based on the real-life voyage of a convict ship, Dangerous Women is a thrilling and deeply moving mystery narrated by a group of women as unforgettable as the events they describe. That just really caught my attention, because I always find it, very interesting about how convicts were sent to Australia from the UK, and basically that they will never return again. And once they were released, it was like, well, you can't, if you don't have the money to be able to go home, you're not going home. So they ended up staying in Australia and starting new lives and such. And so to have this story that's based off a real event of a murder that happened on a ship on its way full of women convicts, I just find that so interesting. And the blurb on the front says, on a ship that's packed with the guilty, how do you prove your innocence? Very intriguing. So I'm looking forward to reading Dangerous Women by Hope Adams. Okay, then we're moving on to The Mad Woman's Ball by Victoria Mass. Now, this is actually a French novel, which this is the English translation of. I think it might be actually her debut novel. Oh yes, a beautifully written debut. Yes, it is her debut novel. And can we please talk about the stunning inside? And it's all on the front as well. And this gorgeous cover, like the kaleidoscope kind of, oh my god, beautiful. And it says, I'm probably going to say this, the name of this asylum where it's set completely incorrect. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and I am so sorry if I butcher it. So it says, the Salpêtrière Asylum, 1885. All of Paris is enthralled with Dr. Chalcott and his displays of hypnotism on women who have been deemed mad or hysterical, outcasts from society. But the truth is much more complicated, for these women are often simply inconvenient, unwanted wives or strong-willed daughters. Once a year, a grand ball is held at the hospital. For the Parisian elite, the Mad Women's Ball is the highlight of social season. For the women themselves, is a rare moment of hope. Genevieve is a senior nurse. After the childhood death of her sister, she has shunned religion and placed her faith in Dr. Charcot and his new science. But everything begins to change when she meets new patient Eugenie, a 19-year-old daughter of a bourgeois family. Oh, I hope I'm getting all that butchering wrong. Because Eugenie has a secret. She needs Genevieve's help. Their fates will collide on the night of the Mad Woman's Ball. I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. It's not a very long book. But yeah, it just kind of intrigued me. And it's a French novel, a French debut novel, translated into English. So, yeah. Interesting. So that's The Mad Woman's Ball by Victoria Mass. Okay, then we've got these paperback, but they're still large. So next we have got Children of the Empire by Michael Farrar. So I started really getting into Queen Victoria this past year and her various children, and so I wanted to read a book about Victoria's children, and this one came up on Amazon. It's really tiny, so it's not going to go into depth whatsoever, as I hoped it would do, but it is a small book, so I knew what I was getting into, as it were. But this is about Victoria's children, and it says, written entirely in the first person and fully based on accurate historical accounts, Michael Farrar imagines how this royal family would have described the events of their extraordinary existence, scandals, loves, triumphs and tragedies. In Children of the Empire, 47 children and grandchildren of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert individually tell the stories of their lives from their early childhood to the very end. Complete with individual portraits of family trees, this is an accessible and unique look at the extended royal family that has stretched across Europe, some of them being kings and queens. So it's written from their perspective, which I thought was an interesting take. So that's why it kind of appealed to me. But yeah, I would have hoped it would have been a bit more in depth if that's covering 47 individuals. But oh well. So we'll just see what I think of it. So that is Children of the Empire by Michael Farrar. Then we have an author who has written a book which I think she had to write it, and that is Dickens' artistic daughter, Katie, Her Life, Loves and Impact by Lucinda Hawksley. Now, in case you don't know, Lucinda Hawksley is directly related to Charles Dickens. She is his third-time great-granddaughter or something. So she's direct line to him, and she's written about him and such, but she especially was fond of Katie, his daughter. So she wrote about her. And it says, Katie Dickens was born in a house of turbulent celebrity and grew up surrounded by fascinating, famous and infamous people. From a very young age, she knew her vocation was to be an artist. Lucinda Hawksley charts the life of a celebrated portrait painter who redefined our preconceptions about Victorian women. Living to be almost 90, Katie survived a separation of her parents, an unconventional marriage, love affairs, heartbreak, depression, and the challenges of being a female artist in a male-dominated era. Compelling and illuminating, Dickens' artistic daughter Katie tells the story of the spirited woman who found fame at the centre of the first celebrity phenomenon, and it also uncovers the reality of what it's like to be a child of Charles and Catherine Dickens. This biography of Katie celebrated her artistic prestige, which saw her compared to Millais, is long overdue. The details of her fascinating life await rediscovery. So yeah, I like the fact that Lucinda is writing about one of her relatives and not, you could just say, the obvious one. So yeah, I just really want to read this book. So there we go. Dickens' artistic daughter, Katie, by Lucinda Hawksley. Then we're moving on to Mary Ann Cotton, Dark Angel by Martin Connolly. So she was, as said here, she was Britain's first female serial killer. I always find Mary Ann Cotton really interesting. It was because of Tori Telfer's book. Obviously, Mary Ann Cotton is a very, very well-known female serial killer in the UK, but outside of the UK, she's not really that well known. She is referred to in Tori Telfer's book Lady Killers, which I read, as you've seen in my other videos this year, and I loved Tori Telfer's writing. And she actually did, as part of a podcast, Criminal Broads, she talked about Mary Ann Cotton more. And the whole podcast, and I was constantly kind of coming across and learning the lives of all of these female killers. It just made me want to read a book about one. And my sister actually got this book, and so I got it as well. And so yeah, I wanted to read about Mary Ann Cotton. So a female thief with 4 husbands, a lover, and reportedly over 12 children is arrested and tried for the murder of her stepson in 1872, turning the small village of West Auckland in County Durham upside down. Other bodies are exhumed, and when they are found to contain arsenic, she is suspected of their murder as well. The perpetrator, Mary Ann Cotton, was tried and found guilty and later hanged on the 24th of March 1873 in Durham Gaol. It was claimed that she murdered over 20 people and was the first female serial killer in England. So there we go. So it's all about Mary Ann Cotton, written by Martin Connolly. So let you know what I think about that. And then the next one, I've got one more hardback. The next one is actually a book that inspired one of my favourite films ever. It's based on, but also inspired, is Israel Rank, the autobiography of a criminal by Roy Hornman. So this is the book that inspired, or should I say, the book that the film is based on, Kind Hearts and Coronets. I love that film so much, so much. They made various changes because this book caused quite a controversy. It's very anti-Semitic and such. But at the time, a lot of that was going around, and this kind of book kind of, in a way, poked fun at it. So he is a man who was born into low rank and discovers that his mother was actually a duchess, but she lost her status because she married a man who she loved, rather than someone of wealth and of status, and so she lost her position. And when she dies, the family completely ignore him, turn his back, so he decides that he wants to claim the name back, and to do that he has to take out some family members along the way, and this is him telling his story. So I'm very interested to read this, to see for myself the difference between the film version and the book version, and yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. So that is Israel Rank, the autobiography of a criminal. Okay, and the last hardback I have is Triflers Need Not Apply by Camilla Bruce. Again, a female serial killer book, which I bought thanks to me listening to Criminal Broads. This came out, it's very recently, actually. I think it might actually be a 2020. Let me just check. Oh, where's the details? Oh, it is a 2021 book. So there you go. I could remember it's 20 or 21. But yes, so this is actually based on the events to do with a female serial killer called Belle Gunness, but the author has changed the name to a different name that's similar and told this story. So it says, Belle Sorensen loves men. She loves them to death. Early in the life of Bella Sorensen discovers the world is made out only of men. They own everything, jobs, property, wives, but Bella understands what few others do. Where women are concerned, men are weak. A woman unhampered by scruples can take from them what she wants, and so Bella sets out to prove to the world that a woman can be just as ruthless, black-hearted, and single-minded as any man. Starting with her long-suffering husband, Mads, Bella embarks on a killing spree, the likes of which has never been seen before nor since. And through it all, her kind older sister, Nellie, can only watch in horror as Bella's scheme to enrich herself and cut down the male population comes to a glorious, dreadful fruition. Based on the true story of Bella Gunness, whose violent deeds began in Chicago in 1900s, Triflers Need Not Apply is a novelistic tour de force exploring one woman's determination to pay men back for all they have taken. So I'm quite excited to read that. Belle, the real life Belle. Her story was an interesting one, and I really like the way Tori Telfer shared it in her podcast Criminal Broads. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's brilliant. Heard of it, shall I say, because it's a podcast, not seen it. But yeah, there we go. So that's Triflers Need Not Apply by Camilla Bruce. Okay, so there's my hardback, so I'm just going to move some of these to the floor so I can get some more room. Okay. Right. On to the paperbacks. Oh. There we go. Told you there was a lot. Okay, so first ones I'm going to show you are all by the same author. And these are by Emerald Fennell. So we have got Monsters, and then we have got Shiverington Hall and Shiverington Hall the Creeper. So books 1 and 2. Apparently there is a third book, but you can't get it in print. So I'm like, oh great, that's great, isn't it? So yeah, so I kind of went on an Emerald Fennell hunt because I absolutely fell in love with her film, because I saw it earlier this year when I was like catching up on films that I missed because of the pandemic and with cinemas being closed. I wasn't able to. Sorry, I haven't said what the title is. Promising Young Woman. That's the film. I didn't get to see it because when it got released, that was when the pandemic hit and cinemas shut. it was shut for 3 months. So by the time my cinema where I live reopened, it was gone. So I had to wait for it to become available. And then when I had my first trip into town after, with my anxiety and everything, when I felt confident enough to go, I went to HMV and I bought it because I just knew I would love it. I just fell in love with the trailer. I was like, I know I'm going to love this. I'm going to buy it on DVD. So I bought it, watched it, loved it. It is so brilliant, that film. If you haven't watched it, check it out. So good, so good. So I decided to look into her writings, and the first one, Monster, is both, all three of these, should I say, are young adult fiction. And this one says, 2 children you would never want to meet: the beach, the sea, a body, and then another. A girl, a boy, and a summer holiday, unlike any other. So, teenage killers. So that's what Monster covers. There's nothing else written on the back. That is it. And Shivington Hall books. So I'll read you the blurb of the first one because in case any spoilers from the second one. So the first one. Shivington Hall is a school with a sinister reputation, and its newest pupil, Arthur Bannister, is about to find out. But the spine-chilling tales, evil spirits, and unearthly noises are the least of Arthur's worries. It's his friends he needs to watch out for. And that's it. She doesn't like to tell you much on the back of her books. But yeah, I decided to give Emerald Fennell a go. And I think she's a really great actress. In case you don't know, she's also in The Crown. She plays Camilla in The Crown. And if you know Call the Midwife, she played Patsy in that as well. And yeah, I strongly recommend her film as well, Promising Young Woman, because it was incredible, that film. But yeah, going to try out her books. Okay, then let's go for this load here. Okay, so next up we have Constance, The Tragic and Scandalous Life of Mrs. Oscar Wilde. So this is also written by Fanny Moyle, who wrote the book about Hans Holbein, which I'm pointing to on the floor but you can't see, which I showed you just before. So she wrote a book about Oscar Wilde's wife Constance, who, it is really tragic with Constance, because she got caught up in this storm when it was revealed that he was gay. And she kind of gets forgotten about. So I was like, I really loved it. At the same time that I got that book, I saw this book as well. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give that one a go. So it says, spring of 1895, Constance Wilde, popular children's author, fashion icon and leading champion for women's rights, found her life changed beyond all recognition. Her husband Oscar was convicted of homosexual crimes. Caught in a storm of devastating public scandal, Constance was forced to flee, leaving her home, her life, and her glittering literary and political career behind her. Drawing on remarkable new material and previously unpublished letters, Fanny Moyle reveals the fascinating and moving tale of a woman who was living at the heart of the world's insecure and catastrophic morality, and was victim of one of the greatest betrayals of all time. So there we go, Constance by Fanny Moyle. Sorry, I need to have a drink because my throat's getting dry, guys. There we go. That's better. Ooh. Right, next up, we have got back to fiction, The Smallest Man by Frances Quinn. I don't think I've read any of Frances's books before. This I got recommended by Amazon, and I just read the blurb and I thought, oh my god, that sounds really cool. I like that. So I'll give it a go. And it says, my name is Nat Davy. Perhaps you've heard of me? There was a time when people up and down the land knew my name, though they only ever knew half the story. In 1625, they gave me as a gift to the new Queen of England, and called me the Queen's Dwarf. But I was more than that. I was her friend when she had no one else, and later on, when the people of England turned against their king, it was me who saved their life. When they turned the world upside down, I was there, right at the heart of it, and this is my story. So I just liked the sound of it. I thought it was interesting. It was different. I'm just going to see if there's there's nothing listed in here of any other Francis Quinn's works. Oh, wait. It doesn't actually mention, even in the blow about her, about any other of her books. So I'm wondering if this might be a debut. I'm not sure. I really don't know. But yeah, The Smallest Man by Francis Quinn. Let's give it a go. Then I'm on to 2 books which I was going through this like I think it was because of Silent Companions and such, and the change of the season into autumn. I was like, I wanted a couple of books that are just like chilling kind of books, and I stumbled across these 2. So we have The Quickening by Rhiannon Ward and The Nesting by C.J. Cook, both of whom I've never read before. So let's give these a go. So let's have a look at The Quickening first. So, an infamous seance, a house burdened by grief, and a secret that can no longer stay buried. England, 1925. Years after the tragic loss of her husband and twin sons, Louisa Drew has remarried and is pregnant. Desperate for money, she accepts a commission to photograph Clewer Hall. On arrival, she learns that 30 years ago the house hosted an infamous seance, the consequences of which still haunt the family. The lady of the house wishes to recreate the seance with the original attendees. Soon, Louisa becomes embroiled in the strange happenings of the house and discovers her own fate is entwined with Clewer's Hall. So, I thought that sounded interesting, a seance. And The Nesting goes, a house stands alone in the woods. Deep in the forest of Norway, Lexi finds a fresh start with Tom and his 2 young daughters, working as their new nanny. The darkness creeps closer. But Lexi is telling lies, and she's not the only one. This family has a history, and this place has a past. Something was destroyed to build this house, and in the dark, dark woods a menacing presence lurks. Lexi must protect the children in her care, but protect them from what? So there we go. So that is The Nesting and The Quickening. See what they're like. Okay, then we've got one which Facebook book group went mental over, and I was like, well, the last time we went mental over a book was when I got into The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and you know how much I love that book, so let's try it. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So this one, it's got quite a long blurb. Sometimes the one who loves you the most is the one who hurts you the most. Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life she wants. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. So when she feels a spark with gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, everything in Lily's life suddenly seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, and maybe even a little arrogant. He's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. But Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. As questions about her new relationship overwhelms her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love and a link to the past that she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. With this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new ground for her as a writer. It Ends With Us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes to an ultimate price. So yeah, I've never read one of her books before, and Facebook book group this constantly appears in posts, so I'm like, let's give it a go then, come on. Then, of course, I've already mentioned her in this video. I had to do it. Tori Telfer's second book, Confident Women. Oh my God, as soon as I started listening to a podcast, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get hold of this second book. I have to. I think it was just published, I think. At that time, it went straight to a paperback as far as I can find in the UK. I don't know about the US. But yeah, I was just like, I have to get hold of this book because she is so brilliant. Once again, I'm going to say it. If you haven't checked out Criminal Broads podcast. Please do. It is brilliant. And Confident Women is her second book, in which in her first book she looked at female serial killers. In this book she looks at female con artists. So from Elizabeth Holmes and Anna Delvey to Frank Abagnale and Charles Ponce, this history of confidence artists is long, venerable, and wildly compelling. And Story Telfer reveals its female practitioners as some of the best or worst in the business. Here Telfer introduces a host of lady swindlers, some notorious, others forgotten, whose scams range from the outrageous to the deadly and every shade of grief in between. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this one. I listen to her podcast all the time. She's so brilliant, is Story Telfer. Really strongly recommend her. So there we go, his second novel. And then we have a book which I found very intriguing, called All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. Stumbled across this because my friend Sarah, hi Sarah if you're watching, she got this book and started telling me and my sister about it, so I got it. And it's a book that's written in two parts of history in opposite directions. So you have the past, which is told backwards, and the present, which is told forwards. So here's the blurb. It's been 10 years since Nicolette Farrell left her rural hometown after her best friend Corinne disappeared without a trace. Then a letter from her father arrives. I need to talk to you. That girl. I saw the girl. Has her father's dementia worsened, or has he really seen Corinne? Returning home, Nicolette must finally face what happened on that terrible night all those years ago. Then another young woman goes missing, almost to the day of the anniversary when Corinne vanished. And like 10 years ago, the whole town is a suspect. Told backwards, day 15 to day 1, Nicolette works to unravel the truth, revealing shocking secrets about her friends, family, and what really happened to Corinne. Like nothing you've ever read before, All the Missing Girls is a brilliantly plotted debut thriller that will leave you breathless. So it's a debut, forgot to mention that. But yeah, it sounded very, very intriguing. I'm not going to say what Sarah thought of it because, possible spoilers, but yeah, I want to give this a go. So there we go. All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. Right, last stretch, guys. We're nearly there. All of the last ones are in my lap right now. Okay, so the next one I kind of got on a whim, and that is The Conviction of Cora Burns. So it was longlisted for the HWA debut crown, apparently, by Carolyn Kirby. So it's a historical novel, and it's set in Birmingham in 1885. And it says, born in a ghoul and raised in a workhouse, Cora Burns has always struggled to control the violence inside her. Haunted by memories of a terrible crime, she seeks a new life working as a servant in a house of a scientist, James Durwood. Here, Cora befriends a young girl, Violet, who seems to be the subject of a living experiment. But is Durwood also secretly studying Cora? Ooh, interesting. I thought it sounded like an interesting thing, and it's a debut, and I like to give things a go, and it just kind of appealed, and I went, why the hell not? So, The Conviction of Cora Burns by Carolyn Kirby. There we go. Then next we have Silver Sparrow by Terari Jones. So it says author of An American Marriage, so this isn't a debut, but it's the first book of hers that I have read. And it says, Secrets. My father, James Witherspoon, is a bigamist. Dana and Charissa sisters bound together by the life-changing secrets of their father's double life. Lies. Only one of them knows the truth. When they do finally meet and form a friendship, the fragile balance of ignorance and silence that has kept James's secrets safe for so long threatens to explode. Hope. This soulful story of friendship and sisterhood paints an unforgettable picture of the messy knots that bind families together, and the prize-winning from the prize-winning author of An American Marriage. So I just thought it was an interesting idea, and I wanted to also, because this year, I had a very bad experience with Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. I wanted to look at other authors of colour and such, and just do more exploration of authors. And I came across Silver Sparrow. It got recommended to me because I got Girl, Woman, Other. And I thought, you know what, why the hell not? Let's just give it a go. So Silver Sparrow by Terari Jones. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And it said, yeah, and apparently she won the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2019. So yeah, let's see how that one goes. Then we are back with Lucinda Hawksley for The Mystery of Princess Louise. So this is Queen Victoria's rebellious daughter. As I said, I was looking into Lives of Queen Victoria, and I got that Children of the Empire's book and such, but I find my favourite of her children is Louisa. Louise, should I say, Louisa. I think she's fascinating. She really rebelled against her mother. She got caught up in scandals. She did art and all this lot. She really didn't give a crap about various things. She felt passionately about so many things, and she didn't hold back, and I love her for it. And I found that Lucinda had written a book about her, and I was like, oh my god, it's Lucinda, I really like her. So I was like, you know what, I have to buy this book. So yeah, The Secrets of Queen Victoria's sixth child, the artistic and tempestuous Princess Louise, has been shielded for years from public view, with rumours of her colourful life hinted but never documented in hard fact. When Lucinda Hawksley started to investigate the unconventional royal, she discovered a fascinating woman, modern before her time, a sculptor and painter, a friend to the pre-Raphaelites, a campaigner for the education and health reform, a daughter battling against a controlling mother, and a princess followed by whispers of love affairs and ill-advised entanglements. The mystery of Princess Louise is packed with intrigue, scandal, and secrets, and is as vivid a portrait of a vivid portrait of a royal desperate to escape her inheritance. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this, and especially there is a belief that Lucinda has about something to do with Louise, which has been in various documentaries and such. I'm not going to say what it is. It's a theory because there's no hard proof of it, but I'm very, very intrigued to read her explain the theory in her own book. So there, Princess Louise. Then we have a classic. I think it's the only classic actually that I've listed that I bought myself. I wanted to go back to Thomas Hardy, and I wanted to go for a Thomas Hardy that I've never read before, and that is Jude the Obscure. I know, shock horror, I haven't read Jude the Obscure. I should have done by now, but I haven't, so Jude the Obscure, I think it's always been a book that's just kind of always just been there, but I've never focused on. That's the thing. And I decided, so when I was thinking, I'd quite like to read another Thomas Hardy, I went for the one that was just there in the background, because it's like, why am I shoving it there in the background? So, and just FYI, I know what the thing is, the shocker thing in this novel that caused quite a stir, let's put it that way, when it got published. But yeah, so I know that, but I don't know anything else. So, and the description is, Jude Fawley's hopes of a university education are lost when he is trapped into marrying the earthly Arabella, who later abandons him. Moving to the town of Christminster, where he finds work as a stonemason, Jude meets and falls in love with his cousin, Sue Bridehead, a sensitive, free-thinking new woman. Refusing to marry merely for the sake of religious convention, Jude and Sue decide instead to live together, but they are shunned by society. Jude the Obscure, Hardy's last novel, caused a public furore when it was first published, with its fearless and challenging exploration of class and sexual relationships. So yeah, quite looking forward to that. So we've got Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. Then we have a book which I got because Carrie Hope Fletcher read it and I thought it was quite intriguing. And that is The Death of Ivankochi. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. If I got that wrong, I apologise. And I'm not going to say the author's name because I just know I will butcher it and cause possible very bad offence. So there is the name of the author for you. When I get round to reading this, I will check for certain how to pronounce the author's name, but I don't want to try and butcher and cause offence. So it says, they burnt down the market on the day Ivankochi died. This is a story of an overprotective mother and a distant father, and a heart-wrenching tale of one family's struggle to understand their child, just as Vivank learns to recognise himself. Teeming with unforgettable characters whose lives have been shaped by Vivank's gentle and enigmatic spirit, The Death of Ivankochi shares with us a Nigerian childhood that challenges expectations. So yeah, Carrie really found this so interesting and unexpected, and a book that she generally wouldn't read. And so I was like, you know what? She was recommending it. I'll give it a go. So there we are. The Death of Ivankochi. So see how that goes. Right, then we have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. So this, it was my wanting to explore authors different, ethnicities and nationalities and such that I'd not come across before. And this one came up. And this, I think this won actually some awards recently, but I'm not sure. It doesn't refer to any, but I think it possibly has been since the paperwork came out. And it says, Stella and Desiree are identical twins growing up together in a small southern black community. Until at age 16, they run away. Years later, everything about their lives is different. Their families, communities, and racial identities. One sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape. The other sister secretly passes for white, and her husband knows nothing of her past. Still separated by many miles and just as many lies, the fate of the twins remains intertwined. What will happen in the next generation when their own daughters' storylines intersect? So I found that very interesting, about two sisters, one who's living her life in where they grew up and everything, and one who is living this life of lies. And yeah, they're identical, but their lives are completely separated, and then the next generation becoming entwined. I found that really interesting. So yeah, I've decided to give it a go. So that's The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Final five, guys, final five. So next up is In the Nightwood by Dale Bailey. I was going to say Dan Bailey then. Not quite. Dale Bailey. Sorry, Dale. So Charles Hayden has been fascinated by a strange Victorian fairy tale In the Nightwood since he was a child. When his wife Erin, a descendant of the author, inherits her ancestors' home, the couple decide to make it their home. Still mourning the recent death of their daughter, they leave America behind, seeking a new beginning in the English countryside. The hollow house, filled with secrets and surroundings by an ancient oak forest, is a place where the past seems very much alive. Isolated amongst the trees, Charles and Erin begin to feel themselves haunted by echoes of the stories in the house's library, and by sightings of their daughter, and by something else, as old and as dark as the forest around them. I thought that was quite interesting. Quite surprised it's such a short book. It's only just over 200 pages. And I was like, you know what? Let's give it a go. So, In the Nightwood by Dale Bailey. Then we have one that was recommended on one of my videos, and I cannot for the life of me, when I've tried to find it to get the name of the individual, I cannot find them. So if that individual is watching this, please comment in this video and let me know that it was you and I can thank you directly. And that is Dennis Johnson's Train Dreams. Occasionally I get recommendations by you guys, and I really love it when you recommend me things. And this is one of them. I got told it's super short, which it is, but a really powerful piece of work. And I thought, you know what? Let's give it a go. So it says, this is the story of Robert Grainer, a day labourer in the American West at the start of the 20th century. Acknowledged as one of Dennis Johnson's finest works to date, Train Dreams is an American epic in miniature and a novel that will stay with you for years to come. I just thought, so this is this really epic American novel. It's so small and just, oh my gosh, this kind of, I find this really intriguing. It just, yeah, a day labourer through history in America. I'm like, why not? Let's give it a go. So thank you to the person who recommended this. If you watch this, please let me know it's you, and I will message and comment in this video, and I will reply back to you and say a big thank you. So there we go. So this is Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson. Final 3. We then have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I love this cover so much. Oh my god, it is beautiful. But what really caught me with it, this is one of those books I keep seeing around, you know, kind of like I said with Ariadne, that just kept on following me. But for years, this has been following me around. It just keeps on popping up now and then, and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, I'll get round to it. And I found out that this has actually been adapted into a series. I think Netflix. It's either like Netflix or Amazon Prime, something like that. But I was like, oh, okay. So if we're going to be getting a TV series of it, then I'll give it a go. So I got Mexican Gothic. And it says, sorry, I need a drink before, because I can feel a cough coming on if I don't have a drink. Oh, that's better. I always cough whenever I get a dry throat. It's really irritating. But anyway, glamorous socialite like Naomi Tabada. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that name. Naomi Tabara's life of parties and entertainment is interrupted when she receives a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, who is begging to be rescued from a mysterious doom. Naomi immediately heads to the High Place, an estate in the mountains of Mexico owned by the secluded Doyle family, determined to discover what is troubling her beloved cousin. The fortunes of the silver mining Doyles have eroded, and their house is a dilapidated relic. Even more worrisome are the inhabitants of the High Place. There's an alluring yet menacing new husband, her foreboding father, and other taciturn relatives. Soon the house itself begins invading Naomi's dreams and her visions of blood and doom. She must tread carefully, for there are many secrets behind the walls of High Place, and Naomi may soon find it impossible to leave this enigmatic house behind. I know that I've said her name wrong. It's just the way that it's spelled. My mind kind of says Naomi, because Noemi. Even though I know there's no A, but in my mind, because the way no. So I said Naomi. I know it's wrong, and I apologise for butchering, but it was the only way I was going to be able to get through that. But yes, I will make sure that when I review this and when I read it, that I will get the name right. So that's Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And again, this is one of these books where I want to expand my reading of different nationalities, different countries, different ethnicities and such. So there we go. So, you know, I'm going to come across these books where I'm butchering names and everything, but at least I'm going to those books and reading them, you know. So yeah, I apologise for butchering names, but I'm learning. Okay, penultimate one. All the Merring Bones by A.G. Slatter. Again, a book that's been following me around for a while. And I remember when this came out and the hardback, it was stunning hardback. But I didn't buy it. And then the paperback got recommended to me by Amazon. So it says, long ago, Marina O'Malley's family prospered due to a deal struck with the Mer, safety of their ship in return for a child of each generation. But for many years, the family have been unable to keep their side of the bargain and have fallen into decline. Mirren's grandmother is determined to restore their glory, even at the price of Mirren's freedom. A spellbinding tale of dark family secrets, magic and witches, and creatures of myth and the sea, of strong women and the men who seek to control them. So yeah, a Gothic kind of fairy story. I just find it really intriguing. So, and I love the cover. I love the circles and waves and shimmers and everything. It's very pretty. So that's All the Merring Bones by A.G. Slatter. And now the last one, guys, which is a book that is very special to me. It's a book I have read before many, many times, but I haven't actually read it since I was 17. And that is When's It Coming Out by Maureen Lipman. Now, the reason why this is so special to me is that at the school where I studied, where from the ages of, well, yeah, I was 17 when I last read it, because I went to the same school throughout secondary school, so from about the age of 11, 12 through to when I left for university. So my birthday is mid-June, so 19th of June, so usually we broke up either on or just after my birthday, so it was either on or just after my 18th birthday. And the last time I read this was when I was 17, and this book was in the library at my school, and I read it all the time, and they had the audiobook, and I borrowed the audiobook all the bloody time. I might as well have just been permanently assigned to me. I borrowed it that many times. I love Maureen Lipman, absolutely love her. But this book, there was something about this book that just I clung to when I was in secondary school, and I listened to it constantly. And I love the audiobook. You cannot get the audiobook of this. I've managed to obtain a copy on tape, and I'm going to look to convert it so that I can put it on my phone, and I've got it as an audiobook. But I also found the printed book as well, and the audiobook tape and the printed book, I think I got combined for £3. I just love this book so much. And so it says, after the triumphs of How Was It For You and Something to Fall Back On, Maureen Lipman's latest confessional is nothing less than the personal and professional equivalent of Crazy Pavings, and guaranteeing to have you cracking up. Since her last bestseller, Thank You For Having Me, she has skidded down mountains, birdied and bogeyed, and no doubt beagled on the golf course, eaten ogies in Cornwall, kerned in Cannes, and quellished in Catskill. God, that's a tongue twister. She has survived winged ghosts, topless hosts, A-levels, B-pitches, hypnosis, psychosis, vacuum salesman, overkill, and expiring sofas. Oh, and she got voted columnist of the year. And that's just in her daytime. For her evening's entertainment, read how Maureen Lipman put the phone down on BT and resurfaced in R.E. Joyce. When you finally put this book down, you'll be asking, when's the next one coming out? Maureen Lipman is as funny in writing as she is on the stage and screen. She has the knack of seeing the funny side of almost any situation and of conveying the humour perfectly. So I just love Maureen Lipman. Look her up on YouTube and such, and online, and you'll find out how funny she is. She's brilliant. But this book meant a lot to me in the years between being about 11 and 12 to 17 to 18, and I haven't had a chance to read it since because I've never found a copy until 2021 in lockdown. I stumbled across it, and it was still available when I was doing my order, so I got it, and I'm really excited. So that's it, guys. That's my full book haul for the new year, and now somehow I'm gonna have to find a place for them to go. Oh God, I know I spend too much money on books. I do. But yeah, that's my book haul for 2022. And so what am I going to be reading in 2022? Well, that I'm doing as a separate video, so go check that out, and I will see you guys later. Bye!